In 2019, newly elected reform-minded prosecutors gathered in Montgomery, Alabama. Their goal was to gain a more nuanced understanding of the systemic racism in American history and to witness its direct correlation to mass incarceration. This gathering was initiated by FJP, Fair and Just Prosecution.
We're on a trip with some progressive prosecutors from around the United States to tour historic landmarks within the civil rights movement in Alabama.
Joining FJP were members of the Incarcerated Children's Advocacy Network, or ICAN for short. Their members went to prison as children and now advocate for youth sentencing reform. ICAN is an initiative of the Campaign for the Fair Sentencing of Youth, or the CFSY, which works to ban life without parole and other extreme sentences for children.
Coming down here to be able to have this moment with the district attorneys, to talk about, progressive ideas and to speak to one another with so much respect and admiration for each other's work and what we do. That alone going, impact our work going forward.
Together, this group visited the National Memorial for Peace and Justice and the Legacy Museum. They hope to gain a deeper understanding of how America's racist past informs our current legal practices.
I think I've been reluctant to connect the mass incarceration of Black and brown people to slavery in the United States. It seemed like too straight a line for me. Having been to the Legacy Museum and the Peace and Justice Memorial, I absolutely have connected those dots now, and it does not seem like a stretch of the imagination. Every system that's created in this country has been created to reinforce the inferiority and the subjugation of Black people. Mass incarceration in the criminal justice system is no different.
Race plays a major role in the justice system. If you're brown or Black, chances are that you're going to receive a higher sentence. So people of color in the justice system tend to receive disproportionate sentences.
Delaware, when I say we, I mean some of us, are trying to shut down a wing of an adult prison where children are housed who are being prosecuted as adults. And there is some support in our legislature to do that. I would love for you to come speak about the benefits of just shutting that place down, because children should not be in an adult prison.
Took the life of my abuser, and I was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole plus 10 years. It took a lot for me to sit before you all today. They did not want to let me out of prison. They said I was the worst. It wasn't until Jody and the John Legends of the world and the Elizabeth Calvins and Loyola Marymount colleges, when they actually came, they actually brought forth the truth. I really love this space, the energy that you guys are exuding. I walked in, I feel it. I've never heard of prosecutors that care at the level that you guys care. I'm looking forward to going into those spaces and speaking and challenging their perspectives.
For them to even sit here with prosecutors, knowing what they've been through, speaks a lot to their courage and really to their commitment to seeing the system dismantled. And it was great to have the same conversations, even for people who've been incarcerated in the United States. I think they felt the same way that I did about making the connection between slavery and mass incarceration.
We have some photographs. I think maybe we'll just send a few of those around. You also might have seen some of the video in the Legacy Museum of the walk over the bridge. Those who have watched the movie Selma or seen the photographs, pretty much looks just the same as it did at that moment in time.
The group then traveled across Alabama from Montgomery to Selma to walk over the historic Edmund Pettus Bridge.
It's really wonderful to tangibly stand and walk in places where leaders have worked so hard to break a system that's set up, have people fail. overwhelmingly poor people and black and brown people. And so I'm here so that my story can be much more crisp and clear when I talk about the important work that we do as prosecutors, the power that we have, and how we can use it for good.
Being able to recognize my purpose after having been sentenced to life without possibility of parole, otherwise known as death by incarceration, as a child, and the only way to make sense of the trauma and the harm that produced is having the opportunity to engage in trying to change the system. And one of the key players in doing so is obviously the prosecutors, district attorneys, who have the discretion to make a difference in a way that other entities cannot.
It was really very powerful to be standing shoulder to shoulder with people that had come in contact with the system, and we used words like that, but when you recognize that as children, 14, 15, 16 years old, they were sentenced to natural life without the possibility of parole. Many of them had served over 20 years themselves. Seeing the decency in them, the humanity in them, and the change that had occurred in that time was very powerful.
I hope long-term that I can bring my office here and have my prosecutors really understand the connection between slavery and mass incarceration and what they do. And I think for me, I'm going to reprioritize things, especially the juvenile lifers, those folks who were sentenced to life as children.
To promote justice in youth sentencing, prosecutors can always take age and the factors of youth into account. Never seek life without parole for a child or someone who was originally sentenced as a child, and work to eradicate the practice of holding children in adult facilities.